Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Had a few minutes free, so I thought I would hop on, get a quick video up. Want to touch on a few things in this video. First and foremost, my ongoing purging and condensing of my collection that I've built over the last almost 20 years now, which has been an ongoing process, and I'm really having fun with it. I also want to talk briefly about how that's impacted my pickups, which has been a benefit that I didn't expect. And then lastly, I want to get to some gifts that have come my way from, I think, 3 different amazing channels here in the community that you likely know. But if not, maybe you can get to know. So let's start with the purging and the condensing. So after 2 decades of just, constant accumulation of cards, I've really been feeling the pull in the last year or so, now that I'm into my, early to mid 40s, to condense down the size of my collection. And I've been really doing a lot of sales and making a lot of tough decisions to move cards out of my house and end up with fewer cards that are more meaningful to me. And I've done very well. Last week I sold the 58 Topps mantle because it wasn't a strict fit. And this week I'm selling, I'm going to be listing this 56 Topps Ernie Banks and a PSA 6, really beautiful card. The reason I have this is because I bought it probably 15 years ago. You can tell by the age of the flip here, in this format, graded just like this. I've had it ever since, because back then I had it in my mind. I was new to collecting and I wanted every vintage card of every Hall of Famer. It was just a goal that I set. Why wouldn't you want them, right? Of course. But in the time that I've grown in the hobby, I've learned that that's not what I want my collection to be. Number one, I don't want to spend the money that it's going to take to acquire all of those cards. Number two, I don't have the sheer space to store those cards. And I don't want my hobby room to look like an episode of Hoarders, cardboard style, if you know what I mean. And number three, I just don't have the patience to collect in that way. I don't want to hunt down, a 1968 Gaylord Perry so I can check a box. So I'm moving on from this Ernie Banks. Other than being just a beautiful Ernie Banks card, it doesn't really fit my collection. I'm not building the 56 Topps set. I have a couple of other Banks cards, vintage, that I prefer over that one. And there really just isn't a need for me to keep that in a box buried in the closet any longer. So that'll go up Thursday night. I'm going to do a 99-cent starting bid and run it for 10 days, ending the following Sunday. So we'll see how that does. And I'll add those funds to my big card war chest that I've been building up over here. And that's a good segue into the second part of the video. I wanted to talk about how the act of going through this purge and this reorganization of my collection has also impacted my buying habits. And it probably seems, self-explanatory, but it kind of took a while to hit me, surprisingly, but going through all these sales, it's really made me approach buying cards with a more careful eye. So for the first, almost 20 years that I was back in as an adult, I was just accumulating at will, doing it responsibly and within my budget, but I loved picking up cards, and I still do. Those $5, $10, $20, $40 cards, that's my wheelhouse. They're cheap enough where I can buy them frequently and stay engaged. Always be hunting and researching, etc. But now that I'm selling cards, it's really caused me to scrutinize my buying at a much deeper level. Because, when I'm picking up the cards and I'm just adding to the collection, the $5 here, $10 there doesn't really seem that impactful. But when I'm selling cards and making tough decisions to sell cards, like that 58 mantle, it seems, much more significant. Or I'm spending a lot more time carefully choosing what I want to add to my collection. Because if I sell that mantle for, I think it cleared $500, which was fantastic, but I spend $300 on a bunch of $20 and $30 cards, I've almost effectively traded the mantle in for a bunch of smaller cards. And that's really not what I want to do here. That's not my goal. So what I found is happening is I'm doing almost no buying at all. And that is very foreign to me. And in all the time that I've been back in the hobby, I think I have purchased fewer cards over the last 3 or 4 weeks than I have at any time in that span. And in that 3-week span, I have purchased one single graded card, or really one single card, if that makes sense. And of all things, it's a WNBA basketball card. So I saw my buddy Eric's video over at Those Back Pages on Caitlin Clark, and he really sold me on this. I'm someone who loves to have a wide representation of the world of sports across my collection. And of course, she has already changed the game of women's basketball and is a global phenomena, even as a very, very young athlete here who just completed her rookie season in the WNBA. And I got this gorgeous card that was distributed at the National this past year, featuring her with the Indiana Fever. I think it's one of the first cards to feature her in her WNBA jersey proper, and it just looks gorgeous. She's not somebody that I'm going to super collect by any means. I'm perfectly happy with this being my one and only Caitlin Clark card. But again, it just goes to show, this is the only single that I have picked up, as I said, in probably 3 or 4 weeks now. And prior to that, I would pick up a handful every week. And at first it was difficult, but I'm finding that the longer I go and the more I'm selling and moving out of my room here, the easier it's getting to withhold on pickups. So I did make one other pickup aside from that, though, or I guess 2 caveats. Number one, I'm keeping up with my buddy Scott over at Reindeer Studios. He does his Marker Doodle Monday release, and he releases a single card every Monday for $6. So I do purchase one of those every week to support him. And then when I was out with my wife this past week, hit up a couple of antique shops down the street, and there was a hobby shop, a newish hobby store that opened, and they had some junk wax packs. So I grabbed 2 91 Upper Deck Hockey and 3 1987 Topps Baseball just to put on like my rainy day shelf. These were $1.99. The Topps Baseball and the hockey were $1. So I think I spent about $8 on a few packs plus a Caitlin Clark card, and that is literally the extent of my pickups over the last close to a month now. But with that being said, as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, some friends of mine in the hobby have been hooking me up instead to keep my collection kind of growing and moving. And I want to look at a couple of those packages today. I won't be able to get completely caught up, but my buddy Dan first over at Old Sarge Collects, who I think all of you know, amazing channel and an amazing human being. Dan and I text every week, and sometimes almost every day. Great guy, and he participated recently in the Trading with Leo installments that I have going on, and he sent me my own team set bag of cards that were included alongside Leo's. So these are for me to keep in my collection. Much appreciated, Dan. And we have the 2022 New York Yankees team card, and of course this is significant because it features Aaron Judge, and it's from the year where he broke the AL home run record. So this one will have a shot at being one of the 62 cards in my revolving door American League home run leader collection. And then to go along with that, we have this beautiful Ted Williams. Look at this on the 87 Topps design. Very fitting after I just showed a pack of 87s a moment ago. Really, really cool card there with like that mojo effect going on. It looks like tire tracks. Super cool. And then how about this? Some Leo Messi stickers. So some of these were included in the Trading with Leo, and they've actually already been claimed and will be mailed out this week. But got a couple Messi stickers of my own. And then we close it out with this. Check this out. This is a Vader card, a Star Wars card. Also features obviously some Stormtroopers and Princess Leia in the background. I love the art, but it's like a Menko Star Wars card. I feel like maybe I've seen this on your channel before, Dan, but I'm definitely going to have to hit you up to get some more information from this. I'm going to guess it's from the 1970s, the late 70s, around the movie's release, the initial movie's release, but I'm going to have to do some more research on this. But Dan is a fellow Vader enthusiast, and he knows I love that character, so this is a super meaningful addition to my Star Wars collection. So thank you so much, Dan, both for participating in the Trading with Leo and for those thoughtful extras that you included. And then the other package that I want to get to, this one is long overdue. It's been sitting on the shelf here in my to be filmed pile for honestly weeks. I got a stack of buybacks here from my buddy Ben, who many of you know over at Blix Cards here on YouTube. Now there's a backstory to this. Ben did not have my mailing address, but he knows that I like these buybacks. And he was sending a card to your friend and mine, Greg, over at Midlife Cards, and he included this stack of buybacks, basically with a note saying, hey, would you find a way to get these to Shane? Because he knows that Greg and I know each other. So that started the movement of these cards really all across our country. So they went to Greg out on the West Coast. Now, Greg happened to be sending some cards to our mutual friend, Mookie Chilson, here on the East Coast. So these got mailed next to Mookie Chilson at Chilson World Headquarters down there, a little bit south of here. And Mookie then forwarded them on to me. But when he did that, he included, because he's just an awesome guy, this oversized Jerry Topazzini. I think it's like a beehive photo. Beautiful card. Look at this. I have to tilt it to get it to fit in frame here, but simply amazing. Now, there's a backstory here, and I probably should have started with this, but Mookie included this note. Shane, the sweet buybacks are from Ben by way of California and New Jersey, which I just alluded to. The oversized hockey card is from your old pal Mookie. Now, Jerry Topazzini may not be a Rhode Island Hockey Hall of Famer like his big bro, but he had a great career in his own right, and I know that you know that there's just nothing better than brothers. Moo. So, obviously, very well said. Mookie is a dear friend. What's cool about this and what he's alluded to in the note, so Jerry Topazzini, he played in the NHL for like a dozen years with the Bruins, had a very long career, and was known as a defensively minded forward. He was one of the best defensive forwards in the league, and I know that sounds contradictory, but it's actually a very important role. And these days, they give out an award, the Selke Award, to the forward who displayed the best defensive prowess over the course of the season. And back in the day, I think he would have been the winner of that award on more than one occasion. So really, really good player with a long career with Boston throughout the 40s and into the 50s. But as Mookie alluded to in his note, he is the brother of Zelio Topazzini. Jerry is actually the younger brother, I believe. Zelio played briefly in the NHL, but is better known here in Rhode Island because he played the majority of his career for the Providence Reds of the AHL. And in fact, was basically the franchise career leader in many categories. And as such, Zelio is in the Rhode Island Hockey Hall of Fame. And so Mookie had sent me this Zelio previously, and I did a whole video on that. Learned a lot about him and his Hall of Fame induction here in Rhode Island. And now, look at this. He has sent the counterpart, younger brother Jerry, on the matching card here. These are just amazing additions to my overall hockey collection. They will display incredibly. The Zelio had a pinhole in it. You can see up top here, which is not surprising, having come from the Chilson Reserve. But Jerry, I don't see a pinhole anywhere. So that's even more incredible. But they look great paired up together, and they will certainly be displayed together here in my hobby room. So thank you, Mookie, not only for forwarding on Ben's buybacks, but for those great and very touching hockey cards. Now let's really quickly get into this. And I'm already approaching 13 minutes, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'll save these 3 team set bags for future buyback rummages, and we'll go through one in each rummage when we look at some other buybacks. For today, let's just look through the first one here. There's probably about maybe 15 or 20 buybacks here. We got Pete Reichert from the 74 traded release. This is so thoughtful of you, Ben. I'm assuming you either ran into a lot of these at a show, or maybe this is all the buybacks you had accumulated in your collection. If you see this, definitely let me know. I'd be fascinated to know where these came from. 77 Eric Soderholm. This is from the Rediscover Tops buyback program. Andy Messersmith, Rediscover from 79. Look at that photo. That's fantastic. The ball is midair here, heading towards the plate. And of course, all of these will be evaluated for my 792 card buyback Frankenset. So what I'll do is I'll take the binder out. For example, this is card number 278. If there's nobody in that slot, this one will go right into the set. If there's an existing 278 from a different year in the vintage Topps era, I'll compare that card against this Messersmith, and one will win and the other one will get the boot. So it's kind of a living, breathing buyback set of cards number 1 through 792. There's a Bob Baylor on the 79 design. Doyle Alexander on the 1980. Mike Norris, 85 with the A's. Gone but not forgotten. Mario Ramirez, look at that hat. That is, that's styling. I like it. Next up, we got Jim Acker with the Blue Jays on the 86 Topps design. Lance McCullers for the San Diego Padres. Orlando Mercado for the Rangers, 87 Topps. Once again, that seems to be the theme of today's episode, between the Ted Williams card, the unopened packs, and now these buybacks. Tony Phillips, Luis Agallo, Jim Wolford, nice run of 87s here. Glenn Hubbard. And what'll happen if these don't make the Franken set, I have a Duplicates or Outcasts box that these will go into. And I still collect those as well. I do some other projects with buybacks, and I will occasionally send them out to folks in care packages too. So these will be put to good use regardless. Bob Patterson. Then we finish with an 88 Topps Spike Owen. So great batch of buybacks there with 3 more to get to at some point down the line in the future, courtesy of Ben over at Blix Cards. So we'll be seeing those soon. I'll try to get to them in the course of the next month here, doing some other rummages. But for today, let's call it there. It's been over 15 minutes of my thoughts and some random cardboard. Truly appreciate your time. Glad you stopped by, and I'll be back soon with some more content. Until then, keep enjoying the hobby, everybody. Take care.